The quiet beeping of the alert system broke the silence on the monitoring station. Alan Reed looked up from his coffee, frowning at the unusual pattern on his screen. He tapped a few commands, and the large display at the front of the room changed to show a strange energy reading from beyond Pluto. "Hey, Charlie, are you seeing this?" Alan called to his colleague. Charlie Mason walked over, his eyes widening at the display. "Never seen anything like it. Better call it in." Within hours, the information had reached Earth Space Command headquarters. In a brightly lit conference room, military and scientific leaders gathered around a holographic display of the unusual energy signature. General Patricia Collins pointed at the swirling pattern. "Whatever it is, it's massive. We need eyes on it immediately." "The USS Horizon is the closest vessel with proper scanning equipment," said Admiral William Bennett. "They can reach the area in 3 days." On the bridge of the USS Horizon, Commander Ethan Morgan received his orders with a mix of excitement and concern. At 42, he had spent his entire adult life in space, but nothing in his experience had prepared him for what they were about to find. "Set course for the coordinates," he told his helmsman, Jack Rivera. "Best possible speed." As the Horizon changed direction, Ethan addressed his crew over the ship's communication system. "This is the commander speaking. We've been tasked with investigating an unusual energy signature beyond Pluto's orbit. We don't know what we're dealing with, so I want all departments on alert. This could be anything from a natural phenomenon to—" He paused. "Well, something else entirely." The Horizon pushed its engines to their limits, covering the vast distance in just under 3 days. As they approached the coordinates, the ship's sensors began picking up more detailed information. "Commander," called out Sensor Officer Ben Howard, "I'm detecting multiple large objects ahead. They're ships, sir. Hundreds of them." A hush fell over the bridge as the main screen displayed what looked like an enormous fleet of spacecraft, unlike anything humans had ever built. The vessels varied in size, with the largest being nearly 2 miles long. They appeared to be adrift, with only minimal power signatures. "Are they detecting us?" Ethan asked, his voice steady despite the shock. "If they are, they're not reacting," said Communications Officer Lisa Winters. "I'm not picking up any transmissions either." Ethan made a quick decision. "Yellow alert. Maintain distance but begin detailed scans. And Lisa, start broadcasting greeting messages on all frequencies. Let's let them know we're here and that we're friendly." For several tense hours, the Horizon observed the alien fleet while sending various greeting messages. The ships were clearly of advanced design, with smooth, flowing lines that seemed to bend the light around them. But something was wrong. Several vessels showed signs of damage, and their positioning suggested they were not in formation but simply drifting. "Sir," Ben reported, "our scans show their power systems are failing across the fleet. Whatever technology they use, it's shutting down." Just as Ethan was considering their next move, Lisa straightened in her chair. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission. I think it's a response to our greeting." "On screen," Ethan ordered. The main display flickered, and then showed a face that was clearly not human. The alien had gray-blue skin, large pupilless eyes, and what appeared to be gill-like structures on its neck. When it spoke, its mouth moved differently than a human's, but the words came through in English, likely translated by whatever technology they used. "This is Admiral Kazale of the Valkyrie Collective Fleet. Identify yourselves and your intentions." Ethan stepped forward. "I am Commander Ethan Morgan of the United Earth Space Command vessel Horizon. We detected your fleet and came to investigate. It appears you may be in distress. We offer our assistance." The alien's expression changed in a way that Ethan couldn't quite read, but seemed dismissive. "Your assistance? Your vessel is barely a shuttle by our standards. What help could you possibly provide?" "With respect, Admiral," Ethan replied. "Sometimes fresh eyes see solutions others miss. Our scans indicate your power systems are failing. Perhaps we could work together to identify the problem." After a long pause, the alien seemed to reach a decision. "Very well. The situation is dire. Our fleet was struck by an unknown energy wave 3 of your weeks ago. Our quantum drive cores were damaged and the failure is cascading through all systems. We carry over 2 million of my people, civilians and military personnel. Without functional drives, life support will fail within days. Chief Engineer Sam Powell had been listening carefully. Commander, he said quietly, request permission to form an engineering team to examine their technology more closely. If their issue is related to antimatter containment, we might have some insights. Ethan nodded and addressed the alien admiral again. Admiral Xiel, we would like to send our engineering team to better understand your systems. Perhaps together, we can find a solution. You believe your engineers can comprehend technology that took our civilization millennia to develop? The admiral's tone made it clear how unlikely he found this possibility. We won't know until we try, Ethan replied simply. And from what you've said, time is short. After another pause, the alien gave what might have been a sigh. Very well. I will send coordinates for docking with our command vessel, but I warn you, our technology is highly sensitive. Any attempt to gather intelligence for your military will be detected and dealt with severely. We come only to help, Ethan assured him. As the transmission ended, the bridge crew looked at each other in amazement. First contact with an alien civilization, and it had happened because they were breaking down on humanity's cosmic doorstep. Well, said Jack with a nervous laugh, they don't seem very impressed with us. Maybe not, Ethan replied, but they're in trouble and we're here. That's all that matters right now. Sam, get your team ready. Lisa, inform Earth of the situation and request any additional support they can send. Ben, continue your scans. I want to know exactly what kind of energy wave could disable ships this advanced. As the crew hurried to their tasks, Ethan looked at the alien fleet on the main screen. 2 million lives at stake. A civilization perhaps far older than humanity's. And somehow it had fallen to his small crew to try to save them. The Horizon approached the massive alien flagship, looking tiny beside its enormous hull. As they prepared the docking procedure, Ethan couldn't help but wonder if this was the beginning of humanity's true entry onto the galactic stage, not through conquest, or even exploration, but through an active rescue that no one, least of all the Valkyrie, had expected. Sam Powell led his engineering team through the alien ship's corridor, trying not to stare at the strange designs that curved along the walls. The 5 human engineers looked small next to their Valkyrie guides, who towered nearly 7 feet tall, with their slender gray-blue bodies. The main engine room is ahead, said Tirvan, the Valkyrie engineer assigned to them. Please do not touch anything without permission. Many systems are unstable. We understand, Sam replied. He glanced at his team members, who all nodded. They had been chosen not just for their technical skills, but for their calm under pressure. And pressure was something they felt strongly. Walking through a ship that belonged to a civilization perhaps thousands of years more advanced than their own. The engine room doors slid open to reveal a chamber larger than a football field. At its center floated what looked like a small star, contained within shifting fields of energy that glowed with colors Sam had never seen before. That is our quantum drive core, Tirvan explained. Or what remains of it. The energy wave damaged the containment fields. We've been using emergency systems, but they are failing too. Sam approached a control panel, careful not to touch it. May I scan this? The alien hesitated, then nodded. You may, though I doubt your devices can read our technology. To everyone's surprise, the human scanning equipment worked perfectly well. While the technology inside was beyond their understanding, the radiation and energy patterns were detectable. After hours of testing and discussions with the Valkyrie engineers, Sam's team gathered in a small room they'd been given to use. It's not good, Sam said quietly. Their quantum drives work by manipulating matter at the subatomic level. The energy wave disrupted the fields that control that manipulation. It's causing a cascade failure through all their systems. Can we fix it? Asked Jenny Baker, one of his team members. Not directly, Sam admitted. The principles are beyond us, but... He paused, thinking. There's something odd. Their radiation shielding has critical design flaws. Flaws? Jenny looked skeptical. In ships this advanced? Yes. It's like they've never had to deal with certain types of radiation. But our ships have. Earth vessels have heavy shielding because our earliest nuclear engines were so primitive. Back on the horizon, Commander Morgan received Sam's report with growing concern. He immediately called Earth and outlined the situation. It's a major, diplomatic decision, General Collins told him during their secure communication. If we commit resources to help them and fail, we risk looking incompetent. If we don't try, we miss a chance to establish good relations with an advanced civilization. There's more at stake than diplomacy, Ethan argued. There are 2 million lives on those ships. After much debate, Earth governments agreed to help. Dr. Olivia Grant, one of Earth's leading physicists in experimental propulsion, was sent to join the Horizon with a team of specialists. Dr. Grant was a woman in her 50s with short gray hair and intense eyes that missed nothing. She spent a day studying the engineering team's data before calling a meeting with both human and Valkyrie officers. We can't fix their quantum drives, she began bluntly. That technology is beyond our current understanding, but we can give them power from our fusion reactors to keep their life support running while they make repairs. Admiral Kazahel, who had joined the meeting via video link, made a sound that might have been a laugh. Your fusion technology is primitive. Our smallest vessel requires more power than your entire ship can generate. With respect, Admiral, Dr. Grant replied, sometimes simple solutions work when complex ones fail. We've analyzed your power needs. If we modify our Hawking drive connectors, we can provide emergency power to your life support systems one ship at a time. Tirvan, who had been working closely with the humans, spoke up. It might be possible. The human ships use different radiation shielding that could protect our systems during the power transfer. This is undignified, another Valkyrie officer named Vresh objected. Accepting help from a species that hasn't even colonized their own star system. Pride won't save our people, Tirvan responded sharply. Admiral Kazale was silent for a long moment. Proceed with the test, he finally ordered. On one of our smaller vessels first. The next 3 days were a blur of activity. Dr. Grant and Sam's team worked around the clock with Tirvan to build an adapter that would allow the human fusion technology to safely power the alien systems. Captain Frank Torres led a separate team preparing the Horizon's Hawking drive for the unusual task. Meanwhile, Marine Sergeant Kate Daniels and her security team kept watch. They had noticed tension among the Valkyrie crew, particularly around Subcommander Vresh, who seemed openly hostile to the human presence. Keep your eyes open, Kate told her team. Something doesn't feel right about that Vresh character. The day of the test arrived. The Horizon moved alongside a small Valkyrie scout ship that had volunteered for the experiment. The adapter was connected between the two vessels, looking like a strange metal octopus with cables reaching from the human ship to the alien one. Power levels at 20%, reported Jack from the helm. How's it looking over there, Tirvan? Sam asked, through the communication link. Energy is flowing, the alien replied, a note of surprise in his voice. The conversion is working. Dr. Grant monitored the readings carefully. Increase to 40%. As the power levels rose, the lights on the Valkyrie scout ship grew brighter. Systems that had been dormant began to function again. It's working, Tirvan exclaimed. Life support is stabilizing. We can maintain this vessel indefinitely with your power supply. On the Horizon's bridge, a cheer went up. Even Commander Morgan allowed himself a small smile. Inform Admiral Kazale that the test was successful, he ordered. We'll need more ships from Earth if we're going to help their entire fleet, but we've proven the concept works. Meanwhile, in a darker section of the Valkyrie flagship, Subcommander Vresh met with several officers loyal to him. This is humiliating, he hissed, taking charity from primitives. What would you have us do? One officer asked. Our people will die without help. Better to die with dignity than live as beggars, Vresh replied. But there is another way. These humans have useful ships. If they can power our vessels one by one. You're suggesting we take their ships? The officer looked shocked. I'm suggesting we use what resources are available to us, Fresh said, coldly. When enough of our fleet is powered, we won't need them anymore, and no one in the galaxy would blame us for taking action against such an insignificant species. Back on the horizon, unaware of this dangerous plot, humans and Valkyrie celebrated their small victory. It was just one small ship, but it proved something important. Sometimes the oldest, simplest solutions could work where the most advanced technology failed. We'll start on the next ship tomorrow, Commander Morgan told Dr. Grant. This is just the beginning. He had no idea how right he was, or what dangers the coming days would bring. 3 weeks had passed since the first successful power transfer. The space around Pluto was now busy with activity as 12 more Earth ships had arrived to help the stranded Valkyrie fleet. So far, they had managed to stabilize life support on 15 of the alien vessels, starting with those carrying the most civilians. Commander Morgan stood on the horizon's observation deck, looking out at the massive rescue operation. Earth ships, tiny compared to the alien vessels, were attached to the Valkyrie ships like remoras on sharks. It's not enough, said Dr. Grant, who had joined him. At this rate, it will take months to stabilize the entire fleet. Ethan nodded. And we don't know how long their quantum drives will take to repair. If they can be repaired at all, Dr. Grant added. She had been working closely with Tirvan and was beginning to understand just how serious the damage was. Their conversation was interrupted when Lisa's voice came over the communication system. Commander, urgent message from Admiral Bennett on Earth. In the communication room, Admiral Bennett's face looked grim on the screen. Commander, we've detected a fleet of ships approaching your position at high speed. They're not ours. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. Hostile? Unknown, but they're coming in fast. The trajectory suggests they're headed straight for the Valkyrie fleet. How long until they arrive? 18 hours, maybe less. Ethan immediately called for a meeting with Admiral Kazael and his senior officers. When they gathered in the Horizon's conference room, he shared the news. Admiral Kazael's face showed an emotion the humans had learned to recognize as fear. Describe these ships, he demanded. When shown the sensor data, the Valkyrie officers exchanged looks of alarm. Galateans, Admiral Kazael said, his voice low. Our enemies. They must have tracked us. Who are the Galateans? Asked Ethan. A powerful civilization from our part of the galaxy. We have been at war with them for decades. It is why we fled with our survivors. The Admiral hesitated, then continued. I have not been fully honest with you, Commander. Our fleet carries more than just people. We carry the last hope of our civilization, genetic banks containing the DNA of our world's life forms, and data cores with thousands of years of our knowledge and culture. Our homeworld has fallen to the Galateans. The room was silent as the ETIs, humans, absorbed this information. Why didn't you tell us this before? Ethan asked. Would it have mattered? Would you have helped refugees with nothing to offer in return? Yes, Ethan said simply. We would have. Admiral Kazael stared at him. Perhaps we have misjudged your kind. Before they could discuss further, Sam Powell burst into the room, his face flushed with excitement or alarm. It was hard to tell which. Sir, we found something, he said to Ethan. The damage to the Valkyrie ships, it wasn't just from an energy wave. There's evidence of deliberate sabotage. All eyes turned to him. Show us, Admiral Kazael demanded. Sam activated a display, showing microscopic images of a Valkyrie ship's damaged components. These patterns are too regular to be accidental. Someone deliberately weakened the quantum containment fields. A spy? One of the Valkyrie officers suggested. Or worse, Admiral Kazael said darkly. Where is Sub-Commander Vresh? He should be at this meeting. Just then, the ship's alarm sounded. Lisa's voice came over the speaker. Commander, we're detecting unauthorized access to our computer systems from the Valkyrie flagship. At the same moment, Kate Daniels called in from her security team. Sir, we've got a situation on the Valkyrie flagship. Sounds like fighting. Our team was escorting Dr. Grant when a group of armed Valkyrie attacked us. Ethan made a quick decision. Admiral Kazael, I believe your sub-commander may be working with the Galatians. We need to stop him before he can do more damage. If you are right, this is our problem to solve, the Admiral replied stiffly. With respect, sir, it's everyone's problem now. Those Galatian ships will be here in less than 18 hours. We need to work together. After a tense moment, Admiral Xael nodded. Very well. What do you propose? They quickly formed a plan. Ethan would lead a team to secure the computer systems. Kate and her Marines would rescue Dr. Grant and link up with Valkyrie soldiers loyal to Admiral Xael. Sam and Tirvan would continue working on a way to restore power to more ships before the Galatians arrived. As they prepared to leave, Ethan received another call from Earth. Commander, General Collins said, we've reviewed your situation. The Security Council has voted to commit our full support. The North American and Asian space fleets are on their way to your position. How many ships? Ethan asked. 150. They'll arrive in about 20 hours. Ethan's heart sank. The Galatians will beat them here. Then you'll have to hold them off until reinforcements arrive. Good luck, Commander. On the Valkyrie flagship, Dr. Grant and Tirvan were hiding in a maintenance shaft. They had escaped the initial attack and were now trying to reach the engine room. I think I understand what happened to your quantum drives, Dr. Grant whispered as they moved through the narrow space. The sabotage created a specific resonance pattern that's preventing your systems from restarting. Can you fix it? Tirvan asked, not directly. But we might be able to use our Hawking drives to create a counter-resonance. It won't repair the damage, but it might allow your systems to function long enough to escape. They reached the engine room to find it guarded by 2 Valkyrie soldiers. Tirvan spoke to them in their language, and to Dr. Grant's relief, they nodded and let them pass. Not all of the crew had joined Vresh's coup. Meanwhile, Kate and her Marines fought their way through the flagship's corridors alongside loyal Valkyrie troops. The ship was in chaos, with different factions fighting for control. We need to reach the command center, shouted the Valkyrie captain leading their group. Admiral Xael must regain control of the fleet. In another part of the ship, Ethan and his team had reached a computer access point. With the help of a Valkyrie technician, they were able to block the unauthorized access attempts. Sir, said Ben Howard, who was monitoring communications, I'm picking up transmissions between Sub-Commander Vresh and an unknown source. It has to be the Galatians. Can you trace it? Yes, sir. He's in the ship's communications center, 1 level up. Ethan made a quick decision. Admiral Xael, we need to capture Vresh and learn what he's told the Galatians. The Admiral nodded grimly. Let us go together. As they moved through the ship, fighting broke out around them. Vresh had more supporters than they had realized. The coup had been carefully planned. We're running out of time, Ethan said as they took cover behind a bulkhead. The Galatians will be here soon, and half the fleet is still without power. Then we must end this quickly, Admiral Xael replied. He stood up suddenly and walked into the open, calling out in his language. Several armed Valkyrie appeared, weapons raised. The Admiral spoke to them firmly, his voice carrying authority. After a tense moment, they lowered their weapons and stepped aside. What did you tell them? Ethan asked as they continued. That they were betraying not just me but our entire people, the Admiral replied. That the humans have shown more loyalty to the Valkyrie than Vresh has. Sometimes the truth is the most powerful weapon. They reached the communication center to find Vresh surrounded by his most loyal followers. The sub-commander sneered when he saw them. You are too late, he said. The Galatians know everything. Our weaknesses, the humans' pitiful defenses. They will be here soon to cleanse this embarrassment. The situation in the communication center was tense. Vresh and his followers had their weapons aimed at Ethan and Admiral Xael. Neither side seemed willing to back down. Why would you betray your own people? Admiral Xael asked Vresh. To save them, Vresh replied. The Galatians promised to spare those who surrender. They only want you and the data cores. Is that not a fair exchange for 2 million lives? And you believe them, Ethan cut in. After they destroyed your homeworld. Vresh looked at him with contempt. What would a human know of galactic politics? I know about betrayal, Ethan said, and I know that people who break one promise will break another. Before Vresh could respond, the room shook violently. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Sir, Ben's voice came through Ethan's communicator. The Galatian fleet has arrived early. They're firing on both Valkyrie and human ships. In the confusion, Admiral Kazale moved with surprising speed for his size. He knocked aside two of Vresh's guards and grabbed the sub-commander by the throat. You fool, he growled. They used you. Ethan and his team quickly subdued the remaining guards. We need to get to the bridge, he told the Admiral. Our ships need orders. The Admiral nodded, keeping a firm grip on Vresh. This one comes with us. He will see what his betrayal has cost. They fought their way to the bridge where they found Valkyrie officers trying to restore order. The main screen showed the space around them filled with weapons fire as the Galatian ships, 60 large warships, attacked the defenseless Valkyrie fleet. The human vessels are forming a defensive line, one officer reported, surprise evident in his voice. Indeed, the Earth ships had positioned themselves between the Galatians and the Valkyrie fleet. Small and outgunned as they were buying time for the civilians. Get me a channel to all Earth ships, Ethan ordered. Commander, Admiral Kazale said, let me address them as well. Your people are dying for mine. They should know why. When the channel opened, Ethan spoke clearly. This is Commander Morgan. The Valkyrie fleet carries the last survivors and cultural heritage of an entire civilization. We stand between them and extinction. Hold the line until reinforcements arrive. Every minute counts. Admiral Kazale then stepped forward. This is Admiral Kazale of the Valkyrie Collective. Humans, you fight for a people not your own, at risk to yourselves. There is no greater honor. Know that whatever happens today, the Valkyrie will remember. Meanwhile, in the engine room, Dr. Grant and Tirvan worked frantically to implement their counter-resonance plan. If this works, Dr. Grant explained to the Valkyrie engineers helping them, it won't fix your quantum drives, but it should allow you to power up your weapons and shields. Even a few ships with weapons could help defend the fleet, Tirvan added. They had connected 5 Earth vessels to the Valkyrie flagship, channeling all available power through the modified adapters. The human ship's hawking drives were running beyond safe limits, their cooling systems struggling to keep up. We're ready, Dr. Grant said finally. Initiating counter-resonance pulse in 3, 2, 1. The lights flickered throughout the flagship. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, systems began to come online that had been dead for weeks. It's working, Tirvan exclaimed. Weapon systems at 30%, shields at 25%. Dr. Grant allowed herself a small smile. Send the procedure to the other ships. Any Valkyrie vessel connected to at least 2 human ships should be able to do the same. In space, the battle was going badly for the human defenders. The Galatian weapons were far more advanced, and already 3 Earth ships had been destroyed. The horizon shook as it took another hit. On the bridge, Jack worked the controls with steady hands despite the chaos around them. Shields at 15%, he reported. We can't take much more of this. Hold position, Ethan ordered. We need to give Dr. Grant more time. Suddenly, the Valkyrie flagship's weapons came to life, firing a series of energy pulses at the nearest Galatian ship. The blast tore through the enemy vessel's shields, causing significant damage. The flagship's weapons are online, Ben shouted over the noise. More Valkyrie ships began to power up as the counter-resonance technique spread through the fleet. Soon, a dozen alien vessels had partial weapons capability. The tide of battle began to shift. While the Earth ships were small, they were numerous and agile. The Valkyrie vessels, while damaged, had powerful weapons. Together they formed an unexpectedly effective fighting force. On the Galatian command ship, Admiral Zorzek watched with growing concern. What should have been an easy victory against helpless refugees was turning into a real battle. These humans fight with unusual tactics, his second-in-command observed. They use their smaller ships to confuse our targeting systems, then strike when our shields are realigning. And their technology is primitive but resilient, Admiral Zorzek noted. Our quantum disruptors should have disabled their ships, yet they continue to function. Should we withdraw, Admiral? We've lost 8 vessels already. No, the Council wants the Valkyrie data cores. We will not return empty-handed. The Galatian Admiral ordered his ships to concentrate fire on the Earth vessels. If they could eliminate the humans, the partially powered Valkyrie ships would be manageable. Back on the Valkyrie flagship, Vresh watched the battle with growing horror. The Galatians were not sparing any ships, even those that were clearly carrying civilians. You were right, he said quietly to Admiral Kazael. They betrayed me. They betrayed our entire people, the Admiral replied. And now these humans die. To correct your mistake. As if to emphasize his point, another Earth ship exploded on the view screen, torn apart by Galatian weapons. Suddenly, Sergeant Kate Daniels's voice came through on the communication system. Commander, we've captured a Galatian scout ship. It was hiding among the Valkyrie fleet, likely the spy vessel Vresh was communicating with. Can you access their systems? Ethan asked. Already done, sir. Dr. Grant is here. She thinks we can use their command codes to disrupt the Galatian fleet's communication. Dr. Grant's voice came on. Their ships use quantum entanglement for instant communication. If we send the right signal using their own codes, we can create confusion in their command structure. Do it, Ethan ordered. Minutes later, the Galatian fleet's coordinated attack began to falter. Ships fired at different targets or moved out of formation, creating gaps in their defense. Now's our chance, Ethan said. All ships concentrate fire on the enemy flagship. Earth and Valkyrie vessels focused their attacks on the largest Galatian ship. Its shields flickered and failed under the combined assault. Moments later, its engines exploded, leaving the massive vessel drifting helplessly. With their command ship disabled and their communications in disarray, the remaining Galatian vessels began to retreat. As they withdrew, sensors detected new ships arriving in the system. Earth reinforcements have arrived, Ben announced, relief clear in his voice. The main view screen showed the Earth fleet, 150 vessels of various sizes, taking up positions around the Valkyrie ships. Admiral Kazael looked at the display in silence for a long moment. Then he turned to Ethan. Commander Morgan, today the Valkyrie have witnessed something we did not believe existed in this galaxy. A civilization that would risk itself for strangers, with no hope of reward. Ethan looked at the Admiral steadily. That's where you're wrong, Admiral. We did have hope of reward. The knowledge that 2 million people would live another day. For humans, that's enough. 2 months after the Battle of Pluto, as it was now called, Commander Ethan Morgan stood in an unfamiliar room wearing his dress uniform. He was on a space station orbiting Jupiter, built by combining human and Valkyrie technology. The station served as a meeting place between Earth officials and representatives from various alien civilizations, who had arrived after hearing news of the battle. Nervous? Asked Dr. Grant, who stood beside him in formal attire. A little, Ethan admitted. I never expected to become a diplomat. The door opened and Admiral Kazael entered, accompanied by several Valkyrie officers and a group of aliens Ethan had never seen before. These new aliens had skin in various shades of green and gold, with 4 arms and eyes that seemed to change color as they moved. Commander Morgan, Dr. Grant, Admiral Kazael said, may I present the representatives of the Galactic Council. They have traveled far to meet you. One of the green-skinned aliens stepped forward. I am Supreme Counselor Gentoo. Our observers have provided most interesting reports about your species. Ethan bowed slightly, following the protocol he had been taught. Welcome to our solar system, Supreme Counselor. The Galactic Council has existed for 12,000 years, Gentoo continued. In that time, we have encountered many developing civilizations. None have done what yours did. Defended others? Ethan asked. Succeeded, the alien replied simply. The Valkyrie Collective was considered an advanced member of our council. Your civilization has barely begun interstellar travel. Yet when their technology failed, it was your primitive solutions that saved them. Dr. Grant spoke up. Sometimes the simplest approach works best. Your advanced civilizations have developed very efficient technologies. but you've lost the redundancies and backup systems that we still use. A fascinating perspective, Gentoo said. The Council wishes to learn more about your human thinking. The meeting continued for hours as the Council representatives asked questions about Earth, human history, and their technology. They seemed particularly interested in how humans had overcome various challenges and conflicts. Later that day, Ethan found himself looking out a viewport at Jupiter's swirling clouds. Sam Powell joined him there. The Valkyrie engineers are saying, our modified Hawking drives actually work better than their original quantum cores for some applications, Sam said. They're more stable in certain radiation fields. Are you saying we accidentally improved their technology? Ethan asked with a smile. Not improved exactly, just made it different, more adaptable. Admiral Kaziel approached them. Commander, your Earth Council has agreed to our proposal. The Valkyrie will establish a permanent settlement on your moon, while we repair our fleet. In return, we will share certain technologies with your people. That's generous of you, Admiral. It is the least we can do. But there is more. The Admiral seemed unusually hesitant. The Galactic Council has existed for millennia with one unchanging rule. Only civilizations with fully developed faster-than-light travel may join as members. Which we don't have yet, Ethan noted. No. But today, for the first time in its history, the Council voted to make an exception. Earth has been invited to join as a provisional member. Ethan was stunned. Why? We're centuries behind your technology. Technology is not the only measure of advancement, Commander. The Council has realized this thanks to you. The Admiral gestured toward the gathered aliens. Look around you. Notice something unusual? Ethan observed the room. Besides the Council, representatives in the Valkyrie, there were several other alien species he hadn't met before. Who are those other groups? He asked. They are what the Council calls developing civilizations. Species with limited space travel capabilities, previously deemed unworthy of Council membership. They have come because they heard about Earth, about how a primitive species stood as equals with an advanced one. We just did what was right, Ethan said. And that, said Admiral Kaziel, is why the galaxy will never be the same. A week later, a new class of cadets gathered at the Earth Space Academy. Among the instructors was Tirvan, now the first alien teacher at the academy. He stood before the young humans with a mixture of nervousness and pride. Your Commander Morgan asked me to teach you about quantum physics, he began, but I believe I will learn as much from you as you will from me. One cadet raised her hand. Sir, is it true that the Valkyrie ships now use a combination of your technology and ours? Yes, Tirvan replied. We call it the Morgan Grant Drive, after your commander and scientist. It combines our quantum manipulation with your radiation shielding and backup systems. It is neither purely Valkyrie nor purely human. It is something new and better. At the same time, in another part of the solar system, Sergeant Kate Daniels was training the first mixed human-alien military unit. 20 humans and 20 Valkyrie soldiers moved through practice exercises together, learning to combine their different strengths. Higher, Phillips, Kate shouted at a young Marine struggling to keep up with his Valkyrie partner. They're stronger, but you're more agile. Use that. Later, she sat with her Valkyrie counterpart, a gruff veteran named Kelnar. They're getting better, she said. Yes, he agreed. Though I still do not understand why you humans smile so much during combat training. Kate laughed. Because it's fun to learn new things. Fun, Kelnar repeated, as if testing an unfamiliar word. Another concept we must learn from humans. Far from Earth, the news of what had happened at Pluto spread through the galaxy. On hundreds of worlds previously ignored by the Galactic Council, beings looked to the stars with new hope. If humans could earn respect through courage and compassion, rather than technological might, perhaps they could too. On one such world, a young scientist named Elura watched her planet's rudimentary space telescope focused on the distant Sol system. Do you really think they would help us too? Asked her colleague. The reports say these humans help others simply because they believe it's right, Elura replied. No one in the galaxy understood this before. Everyone always asked what they would gain in return. And what did the humans gain? Illura looked back at the telescope. Friends, knowledge, a place in something larger than themselves. She smiled. Perhaps that is the greatest discovery they gave the galaxy, that helping others is its own reward. Back on the Jupiter station, Ethan stood before a gathering of human and alien dignitaries. He had been asked to speak about the Battle of Pluto, though he felt others had done far more than him. People keep asking what made humans different, he said. Why we helped when others might not have. The truth is simple. We saw people in trouble, and we had the means to help. To us, that meant we had the responsibility to help. He looked around at the diverse faces watching him, human, Valkyrie, and many others. I believe every civilization reaches a point where it must decide what kind of presence it will be in the universe. Will it take, or will it give? Will it fear difference or learn from it? Earth has made its choice. He smiled. And from what I've seen in these past weeks, we're not alone in that choice anymore. As Ethan finished speaking, Admiral Kaziel approached with Supreme Counselor Gentoo. The Council has a request, Gentoo said. We wish to send observers to your world, not to study your technology, but to study your humanity. Ethan nodded. I think that can be arranged. As the meeting ended, Dr. Grant joined him. So, she said with a smile, ready to shock the galaxy again? I think, Ethan replied, looking at the stars visible through the viewport. We're just getting started.